The community was really shaken by this murder.
18-year-old Angie Dodge was raped and murdered.
Someone had raped and killed her.
Like a lot of small towns in the United States, Idaho Falls is a place where crime, especially violent crime, like the murder of Angie Dodge, is a relative rarity.
There was no obvious way of knowing who did it. Was it somebody I'm meeting at the store?
Who in their right mind would want to kill someone so pleasant, someone so joyful, perfect for life?
Will I ever know why?
If I hadn't had the opportunity to tell her how much I love her, I don't know that I could have made it. That's what kept me determined to find out why my daughter was killed.
She wanted to know who did it. And just like I would or any other parent would.
Where DNA has been left behind, the expectation is that crime is going to be quickly solved.
They spent months trying to solve this case, and they're getting nowhere.
Will I ever know why?
A frightened public demanding results in the aftermath of a ghastly crime also places predictable pressures on police, which can sometimes lead to questionable conduct. 7 months after the murder, police get a tip.
A friend of Angie Dodge named Benjamin Hobbs was arrested in Nevada for raping a woman at knife point.
Much like the similar circumstances that had happened in Angie's murder.
It's not unreasonable for the cops to say this is a hot lead. This is probably our guy. Ben Hobbs is the guy who killed Angie Dodge.
He was a very strong suspect.
Ben Hobbs is not simply somebody who knew Angie Dodge. He was actually in the funeral party, carrying flowers. It's not unusual for a killer who takes a certain amount of pleasure in the crime to be at the funeral. So this seems to be another telltale sign that maybe Ben Hobbs is the right guy.
The police drive down to Ely, Nevada to interview Ben Hobbs about the murder.
Ben Hobbs becomes their #1 suspect.
I have nothing to do with the murder of Angie Dodge. Was she raped and then she's killed? Tell me, was she raped? I don't know. That's why I'm asking you, because if she was, my DNA will prove my innocence right there.
The police get his DNA. They go back to Idaho Falls and begin looking at Ben Hobbs's circle of friends.
There was a very large group of friends. They sometimes called themselves the River Rats because they hung out at the Snake River.
The riverboat docks was a hangout for a lot of different groups of people. And Angie was a social butterfly, so she would be in all the groups.
We all were dorks back in the day. You know, we all had good times and hooky bobbing and water fights.
They bring in Chris Tapp, who was a close friend of Ben Hobbs.
Chris had been a high school dropout for a couple of years. He's couch surfing from place to place. He smokes weed a lot, doesn't really work a lot.
I appreciate you coming out. I want to pick your brain for a bit.
They started asking Chris about Ben Hobbs.
What about that? Don't know. If I knew, I'd tell you.
One of the lead detectives, before he was a detective, was a school resource officer for the high school that Chris Tapp was going to.
So Chris trusts him.
You know me. I'm not going to screw with you. And I think you can trust me.
Chris Tapp was brought in a number of times for different interviews and polygraph examinations.
I wasn't there. I know I wasn't.
Chris gets an attorney.
He denies any role in the crime.
I wasn't there. I wasn't even down the stairs. I wasn't nowhere around.
Police begin a series of interrogations and polygraphs that will last for nearly 60 hours.
You're screwing with me now.
And then he begins to change his story.
The impression I got from you is you're like downstairs waiting for him. Maybe I was there, I just don't know.
Now the police have reason to be suspicious.
There's a saying in the law, false in one thing, false in all. Somebody who's changing his story is hiding something even bigger.
You really your partner. Who's with you? Beth.
Chris Tapp disclosed that he and Bed Hobbs were involved, but neither Hobbs nor Tapp DNA profile matched the CODIS profile.
Hobbs' DNA doesn't match, Chris Tapp's DNA doesn't match. So they're looking for a third person.
A mysterious third person who must have been the person who sexually violated Angie Dodge.
There's definitely another person involved that you have not told us about. Okay, the evidence has borne that out. Who's the third person?
Tell me the other person that was there so we can get it cleared. Maybe Jer was.
Was Sergeant Sarah not?
My recollection, yes.
Chris ultimately names his friend, Jeremy Sargis, as the third man.
When Chris named me as a suspect, I was furious, livid, irate.
You're wasting your time. You're barking up the wrong tree. You're
Not
making
at all.
You're making a
Absolutely
fool
not.
out of yourself. You really are.
Excuse me? I'm making a fool out of myself?
Yeah, because I didn't do. I don't know.
I'm making a fool out of myself?
I think you
I
are.
think you better stand up and look in the flipping mirror, bub.
The first thing in the Miranda rights, you have the right to remain silent. Seems like it's pretty important. You just shut your mouth.
Jeremy Sargis' DNA also comes back as not being the person who killed Angie Dodge. And he has an alibi.
Police dropped Jeremy as a suspect.
Now we're finding out the sergeant probably wasn't there and that you were screwing with us.
I'm not screwing with you.
To watch the evolution of what Chris Tapp says from one session to the next is really disturbing.
I wasn't there. Maybe I was there.
I know I'm there.
How many times did you cut her? Just once.
He ultimately says, I'm the guy who cut her on the breast.
The cut you made was across the breast. Yes.
They can't pin this crime on Hobbs nor Sargis, but they now have a confession from Chris Tapp.
In February of 1997, Chris Tapp was charged with the rape and murder of Angie Dodge.
He was taken into custody.
The day that they took my baby's life, they took my life. There will be justice.
But there's still a major gap in their case. They still don't know who the mystery man is who left the DNA at the crime scene.